Hi Margaret, thanks for joining us today. We're here to talk about CCEP's environmental priorities and some of the great work you're doing from a tax perspective in this area. So starting with some broad perspectives then, what are CCEP's priorities in relation to the E of ESG?
So our business strategy fully encompasses our sustainability plan, which is called This Is Forward. Our key parts of our sustainability plan are around being at net zero by 2040. And we've made some great impacts in relation to that target. And in 2023, we were able to reduce our carbon footprint by 16.7% compared to 2019. The other thing that's key to our business is around plastic packaging. So we spend a lot of time and resources on thinking about innovative ways that we can ensure that we are part of the circular economy. And in 2023, 73% of our packaging has been collected for recycling. Lastly, water is very important to our business and the communities that we operate in. We have been able to replenish our water that we used in our production lines. Last year, we replenished 99% of the water that we used in our production.
Excellent, it's really interesting and there's some quite impressive stats there. So what about as a tax team, what are your sustainability priorities?
Well, the first one is alignment with our business strategy, which includes our sustainability plan. So for example, we're very involved in some of the innovative solutions that our business is currently investing in. And so we help the ventures team, as they're called in our business, to assess some of those opportunities for investment. And some of those have been around plastics and some of them have been around water scarcity.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally critical, isn't it? That alignment between the business strategy and the tax strategy and obviously the sustainability strategy and how that feeds into it.
The other thing that we are very keen to be part of within our business is around influencing some of the government strategies. So we work quite closely with our public policy team to ensure that they understand what our perspective is from a tax team. And take those into those discussions with local governments around defining what that policy is. And then lastly, once the policies are actually implemented, our relationship with our tax authorities is super important. We need to make sure that we maintain a very good relationship with tax authorities across all taxes, so that includes environmental taxes. As a business that does pay rather significant environmental taxes across the world, we see our role as being a partnership with the tax authorities to help them achieve the goals that they're looking to achieve in terms of environmental taxes.
And I'm sure that's really valuable, given that a lot of these environmental taxes are quite new and the landscape's been evolving pretty quickly. So how have you seen the environmental taxes landscape evolve?
So it has changed significantly. I guess we've moved from a very much focus on basic pollution into a focus on international cooperation around how we actually manage the sustainability issues through the use of tax. In the past, there's been a real focus on the environmental impact of activities. Now we're focused on the circular economy and how we manage waste. So plastics tax is a really important part of that journey, and we can see that that's had quite an impact on consumers as well as businesses and how they react to the taxes that are coming in and what impact that has on their habits. And I guess in the future, I think that environmental taxes are really going to evolve into how do we innovate and how do we use technology to manage some of the issues that we're facing in the environment.
It sounds like you're very far along your environmental tax and your sustainability journey, but for others who maybe aren't as far along that journey, is there any advice that you would give them?
Ensure that environmental taxes are part of your tax life cycle. So for me, that means that you're part of those discussions, as I mentioned before, with your public affairs teams, so they can have those discussions with the government if you don't have direct access. And then as the taxes are implemented, be part of the discussions with the finance teams, the sustainability teams, to understand what impact that's going to have on your business and monitor what is available out there for incentives. Because there's quite a lot of support to encourage businesses to use incentives to achieve some of the government's objectives on the environment. I guess the other point is that as part of your ongoing relationship with tax authorities, make that part of the conversation around what you're doing to meet their government's objectives on environmental taxes. And lastly, be an advocate for environmental taxes, both within your business and externally. We need to define and shape how this is going to play out in the countries that we operate in, and so it's really important for tax to be part of those discussions.
So engage with the topic, really important. So finally then, over the next 12 months, what are your priorities and what do you see as the emerging issues within this space?
So I think governments are still fighting back from COVID, and they are trying to find innovative ways to fix their depleted budgets. And so environmental taxes is part of that story. So I think that we'll increasingly see more governments using environmental taxes as a way of changing behaviours, but also dealing with their budget deficits. The other thing that's really important in this area is around reporting. Reporting and transparency is becoming increasingly required in many of the markets that we operate in. And so being able to understand what reporting requirements are coming up and working with your IT teams, with your broader finance teams, with sustainability, to understand how we're actually going to report in this space. And then lastly, it's being close to procurement, supply chain, understanding what their requirements are for future purchases and understanding what some of the incentives are out there that we can leverage off to offset some of the impact of these taxes that we're paying.
So thank you, Margaret, for joining us today. That was really insightful and really interesting.